Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Steve Larsen. You're listening to Sales Funnel Radio.
Welcome to Sales Funnel Radio, where you'll learn marketing strategies to grow your online business using today's best internet sales funnels. And now, here's your host, Steve Larsen.
All right. I am in the throes of just building like crazy. I'm about to finish my webinar product. I've had a ton of people come out and say, hey, will you build this? We build this. It's so funny, you guys. You know, it's been this way every single time I've ever built anything ever. I remember I was going out and I can't remember what I was building. It was years ago. And I started noticing this pattern that any time I got, like, I started setting this resolve of like, I'm going to go build this and I'm not going to stay focused and no one else is going to get distracted, like, or no one's going to distract me and I'm only going to do one thing at a time this time. And like, you know what I mean? Like, as most entrepreneurs probably go through, it's every single time I go out and I start having that kind of intent to build something different or put something out there, it's like the world and the market come flying out from the woodwork, just trying to distract me, trying to say, hey, well, here's an opportunity over here. Come over here. There's an opportunity over here. There's this piece over here. Well, don't miss out on this over here, right? And I'm sure you guys have all seen that before. And if you haven't, get ready and buckle up, okay? As soon as anyone, here's the funny thing, okay? Most people in life don't really do that much stuff, right? If you're listening to this podcast, right, you're probably one of the other ambitious individuals on the planet. Like, newsflash, there's not many of us. I didn't know that, and it's not to put anyone else down, but some people are completely content of doing the same thing over and over again in their life. That's great. Good for them. I'm not, and you're not either, I'm assuming, right? That's why you're listening to this. Okay, I'm not, and so for me, I had the hardest time when I was in school knowing what to try and choose to do. And I would stand around and go, oh my gosh, like, I mean, do I try and go, my major for a long time was actually finance. And then I was like, maybe I'll do supply chain. Maybe I'll do this over here. Maybe I'll do this. Gosh, I have no idea because if I do this, I'm going to get stuck at a desk doing the same thing over and over again. If I do this over here, oh my gosh, like literally I'll look at spreadsheets all day long and it's like, I don't want that. And it's funny because when I started getting really clear on what it is that I wanted, two things happened, right? The first thing that happened, well, first of all, just so you know, I was in this huge conundrum. And finally I had this professor, this teacher, this kind of one of my, he was a mentor of mine, basically. And he was a teacher. He and I spent a lot of one-on-one time together, actually, and he would just teach me stuff. And he was a former CMO of Denny's and of Pizza Hut. And I've talked about him before. He was the guy that invented the stuffed crust pizza, and all hail. And he would teach me a lot of amazing stuff. And one day he took me to the side and he goes, "Look, Steven, I see that you are like massively torn between what you should do." He's like, you need to come and you've got to come do the marketing degree, man. And I was like, serious? I was like, I'm not going to lie. I look at the marketing degree as like a cop out. Okay. And that was my view of what marketing was at the time, which was so skewed. Like, oh my gosh. In my mind, there's no other skill set that will pay you more than learning how to do sales and marketing. But for some reason, like the way it's taught, right? The cultural perceptions of Western society look at sales as almost like the people who couldn't get any other career. Like, are you kidding me? That's like the most valuable, most important career on the planet. Like, without sales, the entire economy dies. Newsflash, right? Like, holy smokes. Like, learning how to be a salesman, learning how to market, those are like the most profitable skills you could ever learn, right? And which is amazing. Which is amazing. Anyway. So I was like, okay. And he's like, come do this thing. Like, fine. And he goes, look, I know you're going to like it because you have to solve a new challenge and a new problem pretty much every day. It changes. You're never doing the same thing over and over again. And even if you have to, it's kind of different, right? And it's for different people. And I was like, all right, fine. So he goes and he convinces me to get into this. He's like, go do marketing. So I get into marketing. I start studying marketing stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. This is super cool. And it's been fascinating to me how much of it has to do with psychology than anything else. And some of you guys might be thinking like, Steven, you're just realizing this now? Like, no, I'm not. But I had it reinforced to me again 2 weeks ago, and I wanted to tell you guys about it. And again, I'm talking about the FAT event. This last one was frankly so freaking awesome. I was on point. Russell was on point. Like, it was just, oh my gosh. And it was our last one, which makes me super sad. But I get why. And just logistically, it's a hard thing to pull off. It's 3 days, and we clearly over deliver on. I mean, anyway. It takes a lot. It takes a lot to pull them off. But I was up there and I was teaching. It was going great. It was awesome. And I love, and I hope you guys understand in the future, I would love to have a coaching program of my own. I would love to, and the reason I bring this up is because one of the things that's such a huge benefit of being attached to a place like ClickFunnels, which I still am, which is great. I'm contracted to run the 2 Comma Club coaching program, or, part of it with them now, which is awesome. I just signed the contract, which I'm very excited about. It's a huge deal, very huge deal. But I love the mentorship. I'm scared to death to actually completely remove myself from the marketing nucleus that ClickFunnels is. I mean, internet marketing status quo as a whole gets created in those rooms, right? I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing. Common practice. I mean, you think of the power of that. It's huge, right? It's massive innovation center. I mean, I feel like ClickFunnels is the Apple of the internet marketing world, right? Just massive innovation on an intense level at all times. Very, very fun to be part of. Extremely electric environment, right? I loved working there. Very sad to not be. And you guys know that story though, for a lot of reasons why I'm not now. But I still wanted to be a part of it. So I was super, super thankful when I was asked to be contracted as a 2 Comma Club coach there, and still be a part of that a little bit. So I wanted to tell you guys though about an experience that I had that kind of reinforces what I'm saying right now about how much of this has to do with human psychology. It had way more, and which is funny because I almost went into psychology and I was like, yeah, this is really interesting stuff. And I was like, oh, that's a lot of science terms and I don't really want to learn that stuff. But I still, and the parts that actually interest me, funny enough, are actually all the things that I still use in, for marketing messages and storytelling as it is anyway, Anyway, so mentorship is such a huge piece of growth to this. I love it. And I hope to be able to do that. A lot of you guys have actually reached out and asked. Probably more of you guys are doing it than you realize, than the rest of you guys realize. Yes, which is the answer is yes. I would love to be able to mentor and coach and show you guys, the very obvious places where you could improve your funnels and things like that. It's all I do anyways. Yeah, I've been doing it for the last year with hundreds and hundreds of students. We have over 600 students now inside of the 2 Comma Club coaching program. And, I'm on with them every week, pretty much for the most part. Unless I get bronchitis like I did a while ago. It's crazy. Anyway, so I was on stage and I was teaching and it was awesome. And I noticed that the room was starting to drop in their responsiveness on what I was saying. And if you guys have ever taught or ever spoken, you can feel that as the speaker, right? I'm sure you guys have felt that before. You stand up and you're starting to deliver. And you can feel the responsiveness. You can feel how people are with you or not when you're actually speaking and teaching and do whatever it is you're doing, selling, okay? Which is one of the major reasons why I tell everyone you've got to publish consistently. It will be an amazing teacher for you. Just you, that's like self-teaching. Just you publishing is like self-teaching in an amazing, very powerful way, right? It's like tailored coaching to yourself, but it's from yourself, which is pretty interesting. You only get that with publishing frequently, right? So anyway, which is why I'm like, oh my gosh, get good at telling stories. It'll be so, you'll see the responsiveness. So anyways, I'm on stage, I can tell, and the reason why I knew is because they're just getting tired. Okay, they had been there for 8 hours the day before, and I don't let them take breaks. Okay, if they gotta get up and go to the bathroom or anything, they get up in the middle of it and leave. Okay, I don't really. There's 2 breaks the whole time, lunch and kind of dinner, kind of. Okay, so they'd already gone 8 hours the day before, and we were 6 hours into day number 2, and there's still another 7 hours to go, and we're stopping for dinner. Okay, and there's been a lot of progress. I'm helping them make their webinar scripts. I'm helping them make their slide. Helping them make the actual funnels. We're going through and we're teaching storytelling. We're helping them. They're doing it, and we're also coaching them through it on different ways. And they're listening to each other being coached. And it's a great, oh my gosh, huge accelerant, massive catalyst for growth. That's why I love that event so much. And they're getting tired. And I can tell the responsiveness of the room is beginning to drop. And I kind of started making fun of them just a little bit. And I know a lot of you guys listen to this podcast. What's up? You guys are a great group. Loved you. Just know from my side, that's what I was seeing, though. And I was like, I know they're getting tired. I was like, how can I break state? How can I break their state? How can I jar them in a certain way? So I was like, so it's kind of like jesting, in a playful way, making fun. I'm like, come on, like stick with it here. We got to keep going. This is 3 days that can set up the next 30 years of your life if you do it right. It's like, anyway. And so we break for dinner, and I'm going on in the back, and I, like as a speaker, I got to decompress, from just this constant, it's like. Let me think. It's like 24 hours of me on stage in 3 days. It's a lot. And Russell told me 90 minutes is the equivalent of an 8-hour day, and I'm on there for 24 hours in 3 days. Like I am wrecked by the end of it, okay? And the day after and several days after, it feels like I ran a sprint triathlon, which I used to do, and it's like the same feeling of just exhaustion. And but it's super fun, and the key, keeping that energy high, is super key with it. So, anyways, I go to the back, I'm decompressing, I grab food, and I was just kind of sitting in the back, and one of the brilliant people that I love being around in ClickFunnels walked into the back, and his name is Dave Woodward. And he walks into the back, and he sits down next to me, and he's eating food, and we're just chatting it up, and he's asking how things are going. He's like, hey, you're on your own. This is awesome. What are the issues? What are the cool things, back and forth. And then Dave goes into this brilliant teaching mode. And I hope he's okay with me sharing this, but I wrote it down. And he goes, have you ever heard of the 4C animal psychology approach or whatever? I can't remember what it's called. You guys out there, I'm sure some of listeners listening to this probably know what I'm talking about. And I was like, no, I've no idea what you're talking about. Because what I had just said was, I can tell that I'm losing some of them. They're getting tired. I want to make sure I'm trying to keep them engaged. Like they have to be engaged mentally in this process for the 3 days. It's a lot, but like they got to stay with it. I was like, trying to I can feel it's going really well, but I'm killing them a little bit. I'm killing them, and I got to resurrect the feeling a little bit. I got to keep them engaged with it. I got to inspire them a little bit. And so he goes, hey, have you ever heard of this? It's like the 4C animals approach to psychology. And I was like, no. And I'm calling it wrong. Okay. Whatever it's called, I don't know. Okay. But he goes, okay. He goes, you and I, we're sharks, and sharks are go-getters. They stop at nothing. Okay. I was like, okay, that makes sense. He's like, but then there's also dolphins. Dolphins are bubbly. They like being the center of attention a little bit. He's like, there's always a few people in the room that are really engaging with you the entire time. I was like, yeah. He's like, those guys are totally dolphins. Okay, those are the dolphins. They're very, very friendly. They're open. They're bubbly. They have no problem being engaging and energetic. I was like, okay. And he goes, then there's whales. Okay, and a whale is someone who wants to make sure everything is fair. Okay, those are the people in the room who are kind of like your checks and balances system. When something, you say you're going to do something and you forgot to cover that, they'll go back and they're the ones correcting you, and they'll make sure everyone's fair, everyone's treated fair, that everyone feels validated, and everyone feels edified, right? It's like, okay. And then he goes, then the fourth kind though is the sea urchin. Okay, and the sea urchin are like the accountants, and the accountants, are sitting back, and they're very extremely logical. They're very number driven. They're very process driven. And he goes, and he said, we all have pieces of each one of those in us, but there's always a dominant. Okay, and he goes, you're a shark. I said, yes. And he goes, you need to understand that people will not, if they don't have any shark in them, they're not going to respond to your shark-like mentalities. They're not going to respond to your shark-like communication style. And I was like, that makes a lot of sense. He goes, if you watch the way Russell speaks, and if you watch the way Russell goes, he's very brilliant at making sure he communicates to all four of those personality styles, of those learning styles, of those, right, communication styles in the room. He hits all four of them in the room. I was like, that's fascinating. So it was dinner, and we had another 5 hours to go. I mean, we usually stop that event at 12:30, 1 o'clock, right? And afterwards, after it was over, we all, Russell and I and Dave and Melanie and John, we all just kind of hung out, and it was a lot of fun. We just kind of chatted up and caught up for a little bit because it had been several weeks since I had been there, anyway. So, but that was fascinating to me though. And he goes, make sure that, he said, you're doing great. You're really, really awesome. And I was like, oh, thanks so much. And he goes, but make sure that when you get back up there and you are trying to keep them motivated, that you are that you are talking to sharks. Yes, you are a shark. That's easy for you to do. He's like, make sure you're talking to the dolphins that are bubbly and energetic. And he goes, you can do that. That's very much your style also. And I was like, yeah, definitely energetic. And he goes, make sure also that you're talking to whales, right? The whale meaning the personality who wants to make sure that everything's fair, making sure that there's everyone's nice, that everyone's. And he goes, which even though I was jesting, making fun of everyone, I was like, come on, like stick with it, you guys. He's like, that may have been bad that I was jesting, making fun of them. Right. And I was like, come on, you can do it, like stick with it, and I was just trying to keep motivated, but I was like, for that personality style, for that communication style, they may not have liked that. And that was a mistake of mine. Right. And then for the sea urchin, make sure that you're still going through logical progression. So he's like, make sure that when it comes down to motivating, when it comes down to communicating, when it comes down to script writing, when it comes down to any kind of communication piece, that you're doing whatever you can to communicate, because a sea urchin, if that's their preferred style, they like to learn like a sea urchin, right? Not like a shark. So you got to speak like a sea urchin, right? Make sure if the person's right dolphin, you got to speak a little bit of dolphin, right? And he's like, make sure you're learning each one of those four. That was such a huge lesson. It was such a huge lesson, and I was like, oh my gosh, like that's okay, awesome, cool. And so I went back out. And for those of you guys who were there, you might have noticed, I don't know, but I was trying to incorporate more of those things throughout. And I did that specifically on the third day. And I don't totally know how, but I know that, like, when people say like, oh, when the student's ready, the teacher appears, it has everything to do with the student's ability to learn, though. I was like, no, it does have a lot to do also with the teacher's ability to deliver, right? And so I was trying to practice that, and I was trying to get good at that. And anyway, it was fascinating. So that's all I'm doing. So what I'm trying to do is I actually went back to my webinar script that I'm currently running right now, right? My webinar, it's going great, going actually very, very well. And it's been fun because I'm trying to incorporate now, like I've got the shark piece, but I'm trying to incorporate a little bit of dolphin, okay? And I've got that pretty naturally also. Okay, but the whale, right? How can I make sure everyone feels like things are fair? How can I make sure that there's still logical progression and the people who like to analyze stuff for sea urchin, you know what I mean? So I'm going through it, the actual sales scripts themselves on the pages, inside the webinar, after the webinar, like I'm going through all those things. I'm trying to add those things in, and it's gone really, really well. It's actually been really, really cool to go through and do that. So anyway, guys, that's all I wanted to tell you guys about was trying to figure out which one you are and then learn how to speak the other languages, okay? As far as communication skills, communication tactics. If you are a straight up shark, unless you're looking for just straight up sharks also, right? Make sure you're speaking other forms of communication as well that people, it's kind of like the love languages. These are like almost communication languages, and that's how I look at it anyway. I'm probably botching some pieces of it. I don't know the name of that methodology or whatever it was that he was teaching me. I don't know, but the lesson was powerful for me, and I'm like, I've always tried to incorporate certain things like that, but I never heard it described that way. And I think I was neglecting specifically a certain part and certain personality and communication style in the room, and I didn't know that. And it's not that I wasn't good, not that they weren't getting this stuff also, but I would be more effective if I was like, I got to learn these other pieces here. So anyways, that's what I'm doing right now. Trying to go through and toss a few more of those elements in. I am dedicating right now full days to just the actual webinar script. That's how much I'm trying to master it and just get it down. And selling once a week right now, and it's the only funnel I'm running. And I got plans for all these other funnels. I got offers for tons of other funnels to go build. I got offers for all the other things, but like it doesn't matter right now. Okay, I'm just I know I'm literally one funnel away. That's not just a phrase or a saying that's kind of cute. It's a real thing, and I know that, and I've seen that, and I'm doing it. And so I'm trying to say no to everything else, but also with the communication style of how can I speak to everyone else's language, because we're all different. So anyway, hey guys, thanks so much. Appreciate it. Hopefully you guys learned something from that. You can go back and incorporate that into your scripts and your copy and communication styles, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Sales Funnel Radio. Please remember to subscribe and leave feedback. Want to get one of today's best internet sales funnel for free? Go to salesfunnelbroker.com/free funnels to download your pre-built sales funnel today.